रंगगंधा गिरिधारी श्री श्री राधा विनोद बिहारी जू की जाय। श्री गोविंद गोपीनाथ मदन मोहन जू की जाय। नित्याल प्रविष्टम विष्णुपार शुतर शत शिमार भक्ति वेदांत नारायण गोसाई महाराज श्री गुरुदेव की जाय। नित्याल प्रविष्टम विष्णुपार शुतर शत शिमार भक्ति वेदांत वामन गोसाई महाराज की जाय। नित्याल प्रविष्टम विष्णुपार शुतर शत शिमार भक्ति वेदांत साई महाराज श्रील प्रभुपाद की जाय। नित्याल प्रविष्टम विष्णुपार शुतर शत शिमार भक्ति प्रज्ञान केशव गोसाई महाराज की जाय। नित्याल प्रविष्टम विष्णुपार शुतर शत शिमार भक्ति सिद्धांत सरस्वती गोसाई प्रभुपाद की जाय। नित्याल प्रविष्ट महाभगवत श्री गौरक्षदास बाबाजी महाराज की जाय। नित्याल प्रविष्ट श्री सच्चिदानंद भक्ति विनोद ठाकुर की जाय। नित्याल प्रविष्ट वैष्णव सार्वभौम श्री जगन्नाथ दास बाबाजी महाराज की जाय। श्री रूपानु गौड़िय गुरु वर्ग की जाय। श्री रूप सनातन भट्ट रघुनाथ श्री जीव गोपाल भट्टदास रघुनाथ शारद गोसाई प्रभु की जाय। श्री स्वरूप दामोदर राय रामानंदारी श्री गौर पार्षद वृंद की जाय। नाम जय श्री हरिदास ठाकुर की जाय। प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासरी गौर भक्त वृंद की जाय। श्री क्षेत्र मंडल गौरमंडल ब्रजमंडल मथुरा वृंदावन धाम की जाय। सर्व अभिष्ट विराट गिरिराज महाराज की जाय। श्री राधा कुंड श्याम कुंड की जाय। श्री यमुना देवी गंगा देवी की जाय। श्री तुलसी महारानी वृंद देवी की जाय। श्री भक्ति देवी की जाय। श्री पूर्णमासी योग माया की जाय। श्री गोपेश्वर महादेव की जाय। जय श्री हरि नाम संकीर्तन की जय। जय श्री गंगा माता गोस्वामिनी की जय। जय तुदीय शुभ थिरुभाव तिथि की जय। श्री हरि नाम संकीर्तन की जय। अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय। समागत गौर भक्त वृंद की जय। श्री निताय गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल। Okay, let's do the Mangala Charan. 1 second. अज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः। गुरुवे गौरचन्द्राय राधिकाय तदालये कृष्णाय कृष्णभक्ताय तद्भक्ताय नमो नमः। Oops, I Shri Siddhanta Saraswati Tividito Gaudiya Gurvandvaye Bhato Bhanuriva Prabhata Gagane Yogora Sankirtanai Maya Varata Mingilo Daragatan Udritya Jiva Niman Krishna Prema Sudabdi Kahana Sukham Pradat Prabhung Tang Bhaje Vande Bhakti Vinodang Shri Gaur Shakti Swarupakam Bhakti Shastragya Samrajam Radharasa Sudha Nidhim Namo Bhakti Vinodaya Sachidananda Namine Gaur Shakti Swarupaya Rupanugavarayate Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya eva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Vrishabhanusutan Vitavamattanum Yamuna Tattanagarana Sutam Murali Kalagita Vinoraparang Bhaja Godrumakanana Kunja Vidum Smara Gaura Gadadara Kelikalam Bhava Gaura Gadadara Pakshachara Shrinu Gaura Gadadara Charukatam Bhaja Godrumakanana Kunjavidum. Tavai Vasmi Na Jivami Tvaya Vina Iti Vigyaya Devi Tvang Nayamang Charanantikam. Bhaktya Vihina Aparadalakshay Kshiptashtakamaditarangam Kripamai Tvam Sharanam Prapanna Vrinde Namaste Charanaravindam. Bhaja Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Shri Saruparaya Sangha Harsha Shesha Ghoshanam Shikshanashtakakya Krishna Kirtanaika Poshanam Prema Nama Matra Vishva Jivanaika Sambharang Prema Dhama Deva Meva Nomi Gaura Sundaram Premor Bhavita Harsheryo Dvega Danyarti Mishritam Lapitam Gorachandrasya Bhagyavarbhirnishevyate Prabhur Shikshashtak Shloka Jai Pore Shune Krishne Prem Bhakti Tar Bade Dine Dine. Whoever reads or hears the Lord Shikshashtak verses will find their Prem Bhakti to Krishna growing more and more each day. Jai Shri Shikshashtak Ki Jai. Okay, and now let's read the methodology verse, the process. What is the process um, for following the Shikshashtaka? Well, first, before that, before the first verse of Shikshashtaka, in Bhajana-rahasya, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur gives this verse. Oops. Tam nirvyajam bhaja gunanidhim pavanam pavananam shraddharajanmatiratittaram uttama shlokamolim prodyan anta karanakuhare hantayan nama bhanor abhasopi Shapayati Mahapataka Dvantarashim. So Nirvyajam Bhaja. Without duplicity, without any deceit. Nirvyajam. Bhaja. Worship. Tung. Worship him. Tung means him. Tung Nirvyajam Bhaja. Him, without deceit, worship. Atitaram. Wholeheartedly. Worship him wholeheartedly. Bhaja Atitaram. With a mati, with your minds, which is enlivened with or colored by or imbued with Shraddha. Shraddha Rajan Matir. So bhaja, worship, tongue, him, nirvajam, without deceit, without any duplicity. Worship him atitaram, wholeheartedly, with a mati, with a mind which is rajan, which is endowed with Shraddha. Who am I worshipping? It says him. Who is that? Who is he? He is Gunanidhim. He is the reservoir of divine qualities. He is the Pavanam Pavananam. Pavananam means of purifiers. He is Pavanam. He is the supreme purifier. He is the purifier of all purifiers. It also means that he purifies all the purifiers. And he is the supreme of all purifiers. And he is Uttama Shloka Molim. He is Molim. He is the foremost of those who are described or who are glorified with the Uttama, with the topmost shloka, verses of glorification. So Uttama Shloka Molim. These three things. He is Gunanidim, he is Pavanam Pavananam, and he is Uttama Shloka Molim. So when even an Abbas, the faintest dawn, an Abbas is the faintest dawn. Api means even. So when even an Abbas, the faintest dawn of the son of the Bhanu, of the son of his name, Yan Nam, whose name, when that prodyan, when that arises, when it starts to rise in the Antakarana Kuhare, in the cave, Kuhare means in the cave of the Antakarana, of the heart, or in the core, also Kuhare can be in the core, within the depths of one's heart. So what happens when prodyan, when the faint glow of the son of his name begins to prodyan, begins to arise within the depths of one's heart? What is it? What happens? Kshapayati happens. Kshapayati means eradicates. What does it eradicate? What does it destroy? What is it? Kshapayati? It destroys Mahapataka Dvantarashim. So Rashi means the mass of Dvanta. Dvanta means darkness. It eradicates the mass of darkness that is Mahapataka. That means our most grievous sins. Just an abhas, even an abhas. Api means even an abhas. Even the dim glow coming from the son of the name, when that begins to arise in the heart, then that darkness, just like at the end of night, when the sun, before the sun even begins to rise, the sky starts to become bright and it starts to eradicate that darkness. This son of the holy name is like that. Even before it rises, just the abbas of the son of the holy name begins to remove all that darkness. And what is that darkness? That darkness is mahapatak. That means all the grievous sins that we performed in countless lifetimes. So this isn't even the glories of Nam. This is just the glories of the semblance of the name. And so then Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur chose this verse to go before Cheto Darpana Marjanam. But after this verse, before he begins, after this verse, he gives, for all the verses of Bhajana-rahasya, he gives the Bengali translation and, or like the essence of the Bengali. Sometimes he expands on it also. Like, so he says, Parama Pavana Krishna Tahara Charan Nishkapata Shraddha Saha Koroho Bhajan. Krishna is Parama Pavan. He is supremely purifying. And so, Nishkapat Shraddha Saha, so Saha means with, Nishkapat Shraddha, with sincere faith, with guileless faith. Koroho Bhajan, worship, perform bhajan, engage in bhajan of Tahar Charan, of his feet. Tahar means his, Charan, feet. The feet of he whose name, Jar means whose, Nam, name, whose name, just an abbas of the Surya of his name, this the dim glow of the sun of his name, Antare Praveshi, when that arises in the heart, when that enters within, then Dhvangshakore, it destroys Mahapap, the greatest sins, the most grievous sins, Andhakara Rashi, that massive darkness of the greatest sins, Andhakar Rashi. Okay, so then before Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur begins describing the first verse of Shikshashtak, he wants to establish what is the methodology for these Shikshashtak verses. Shikshashtak isn't just something that you recite and that's it. It's actually a whole process. It is a full, complete process that takes you from, and it's a practical process, and it takes you from the very beginning all the way to the very end until you reach perfection when you attain prem. So, what is the methodology of Shikshashtakam? And we heard from our acharyas that this is Siddha Pranali. This is the this is the process, the pranali, the process for attaining siddhi, perfection, which means what is our ultimate siddhi? There's surup siddhi. That's when you've started to. That's when you realize who you are, what your form is, even in the spiritual world. And there's all these um, ekadash bhavs, right? Um, and your relationship with Krishna, your family, your dress, your service, your name. There's all these ekadash bhavs. That's all these details about who you truly are. And so you get that's called Swarup Siddhi when you've attained the perfection of knowing your Swarup, who you really are. And that's like at the stage of Bhav. So Shikshashtak is the methodology, it's the pranali for attaining that Siddhi. And then there's also Vastu Siddhi. Vastu Siddhi is when not only have you realized what your Swarup is and all the details of who you are, your feelings and all that, but Vastu Siddhi is when you've actually taken birth in Krishna's pastimes. You've completely this body, this identity, everything is completely shedded away, and now you've taken birth in the womb of a gopi, and you're directly in Krishna's pastimes, serving Krishna directly, not just meditating on your swarups of worshiping Krishna. I say serving Krishna, but or Radha Krishna, but now you're in that swarup, and there's no other form. You're yeah, you're in Krishna's pastimes, serving him directly. That's Vastu Siddhi. So Swarup Siddhi and Vastu Siddhi. And this Shikshashtak is the pranali, is the methodology for attaining both of those siddhis. But it's also the methodology for step number one. When you first um, begin the process, from day one, it's also the methodology. So now Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur explains the details of what's the process of Shikshashtak. ए शिक्षाष्टके कोहे कृष्ण लीला क्रम इहाते भजन क्रमे लीलार udgam. This Shikshashtak tells of the sequence of Krishna's pastimes. Because as we make progress and our anarthas, like our anarthas start to become destroyed, to the degree that our anarthas leave us and we make advancement, to that degree we get realization of who we are and Krishna's pastimes. It happens simultaneously. And so this Shikshashtak, each one of the verses of Shikshashtak relates to a different level of advancement, a different amount of anarthas being destroyed, and also the realization of particular pastimes of Krishna. Each one of these verses relates to a different pastime of Krishna. So, so through this systematic process of bhajan with Shikshashtak, the Lord's pastimes awaken. So, pratame pratama shloka bhajo kichudin, dvitiya shlokete tabe hoto pravin. So, first engage with the first verse. Pratame pratama shlok. Bhajo kichudin, for some days. Kichudin, for some days, engage with the first verse. Bhajo, worship using the first verse. Then, once you've done that, you'll become praveen. Hoto praveen, you'll become praveen. Tabe means then you'll become praveen in the dvitiya shloka, in the second shlok. In Nam Namakari Bahudanya Sarva Shaktis. And then Chari shloke kramasha bhajana pakva koro, panchama shloke te nija siddha deha varo. And then to the first four verses, gradually, kramasha, gradually, bhajana pakva koro. Gradually make your bhajan mature, pakva. Mature your bhajan by really deeply contemplating and following the first four verses of Shikshashtak. And then You'll rise to the fifth verse. Panchama shlokete nija siddha deha varo. And at the fifth verse, which is uh, na dhanam na janam na, wait, no. No, that's Ainanda Tanuja Kinkaram. Ainanda Tanuja Kinkaram, the fifth verse. At that point, Nija Siddha Deha Varo. You will embrace your own spiritual body, your Nija, your Siddha Deha, your perfected spiritual form, Deha. Varo. Varo means you'll accept, embrace. So this is the stage of Ruchi. The fifth verse is the stage of Ruchi. And I guess it's at the stage of Ruchi when you're starting to first get the beginning idea of who you are and what are your feelings for Krishna. But it's still not very clear. It's still, but yeah, you have taste and you're starting to you're engaging in bhajan and the stage of ruchi. It's not no longer a struggle. It means taste. So you actually have a relish for the process of bhajan. And now your bhajan is becoming clear. Like, what mood are you following your bhajan? What mood do you love Krishna in? What kind of but and you start to embrace your spiritual body, but it's not clear yet. But then um but yeah, when you're at this stage of ruchi, this verse Ainanda Tanuja Kinkaram, then Radha Padashai, he says, take shelter. No, sorry. You'll begin Aramba Korea, having begun to take shelter of Radha's feet within your Siddha Deha, you will gradually your advancement will gradually arise from that point of ruchi. That's when it really starts to move super fast, your spiritual practice. That's like Raganuga Bhajan, I think, starts from ruchi, right? And so you're starting to very quickly shoot up towards Radha and Krishna. Unati Udoy. And you're taking shelter of Radha's feet. You're beginning to really take shelter of Radha's feet within your Siddha Deha. And then finally, now we come to the sixth verse. Choy shloka bhajite anartha dure gelo tabe jano siddha dehe adhikar hoilo. So it's at the sixth verse, the stage of asakti, when adhikar hoilo, when you have achieved the eligibility, the adhikar. Wait, no, first let's do it in sequence. So at the sixth verse, Bhajite, continuing to practice Shikshashtak with the sixth verse, then Anartha Dure Gelo, all your anarthas are gone now. There are no more anarthas left. And then Jano, know that you have Adhikar Hoilo. You have now you have gotten Adhikar, eligibility in your Siddha Deha for your spiritual body. You've attained eligibility for your spiritual body. अधिकार ना लभिया सिद्ध देह भावे viparyay buddhi janme shaktir abhave. So if without attaining this adhikar na labhiya, siddha deha bhave, if you, bhave means think, if you think about your siddha deha, then viparyar buddhi janme, then a backwards intelligence, mistaken intelligence, backwards intelligence, a destructive intelligence, janme, will take birth. Why? Because shakti rabhave, because you lack spiritual strength. You're jumping. You're not gonna get any good result. You're only gonna get bad results. You're gonna move backwards. Viparya means backwards. Backwards intelligence. So don't jump to follow this process of Shikshashtak sequentially. Remember the word sequence, the word kram comes 7 times within 10 verses. It's really emphasizing this point strongly. Therefore, savadhane, very carefully, savadhane kram dharo, follow this in sequence, this progressive path and sequence, kram. Jadi siddhi chao. Jadi means if, siddhi chao. If you want, chao means if you want siddhi, if you want perfection, then very carefully follow this sequence, not jumping. And sadhura charita deki, having observed the charita, the behavior, the character of sadhus, shuddha buddhi pao, gain pure intelligence. Not viparya buddhi, not backwards intelligence, which happens when you just try to meditate on your siddha deha before you've achieved the stage of asakti. But no, observe the character of sadhus and get shuddha buddhi, not viparya buddhi, shuddha buddhi, pure intelligence. Siddha deha pe krame bhajana korile, ashtakala seva sukh anayase mile. Then Siddha Dehape, having attained your spiritual body, and Bhajana Korile, when you've engaged in bhajan, krame, according to the sequence, according to the proper sequence, then what happens? Anayase. Anayase means very easily, without any effort. Anayase means effortlessly. Nile. You will meet with or you will attain what? Ashtakala Seva Sukh. You will attain the Seva Sukh, the happiness of Seva, throughout Ashtakal, throughout Krishna's pastimes, throughout the 8 periods of the day. Happens automatically, easily, without any effort. This is the easy way to attain the bliss of service to Krishna throughout the 8 periods of the day. Therefore, Shikshashtak makes everything anayas, very effortless and easy. Therefore, Shikshashtak Chinta Koro, Smarana Kirtan. Therefore, contemplate this Shikshashtak, Shikshashtak Chinta, and Koro Smarana Kirtan, and engage in Smaran and Kirtan, remembrance and chanting. Krame, then gradually Ashtakal Seva Habe Udipan. And then this Ashtakal Seva will Udipan, will be awakened, it will be stimulated. And Sakal Anartha Jabe Pave Premdhan. All your anarthas will go, and what will leave your heart? And in the place of those anarthas, what will come? Prem Dhan, the treasure of Prem. So anarthas will go, and Pabe, and you'll get Prem Dhan. And then at that point, every possible thing that anybody could ever want in this world, the Chaturvarga, that means Dharma, Artha, Kama, and Moksha, all kinds of attainments, any kind of attainment, Falgu, just seems completely, Falgu means like insignificant. It also, Falgu means, I'll just show Falgu. Oops. Hey, how come Falgu is not coming up? Huh, that's weird. Anyways, Falgu means useless also. It's like the opposite of fruit. Falgu. Sorry, whenever I start something, I always want to finish it. Let's see. Falgu Sanskrit dictionary. Oops. Because we know fal means fruit, and Falgu is like fruitless. It's just insignificant. Falgu means feeble, weak, pithless, unsubstantial, insignificant, small, worthless. It's worthless, unprofitable, useless. Those are all definitions for Falgu. Okay. And Habe Adarshan. And not only do they become insignificant, they just completely disappear from sight. Adarshan, they become complete. Yeah. So this is the Shikshashtak Pranali, the methodology of Shikshashtak. And so I know I've gone through this slowly in depth so many times, and I keep on repeating it, but I don't know. I find this repetition really helpful. Then it actually sticks in my brain, and I find myself when I do this kind of repetition, explaining it and going over it again and again, then anayase, that word effortlessly, anayase, it sticks in my head. Like I actually am able to memorize the verses. And then sometimes it'll just come up and I'm like, wow, I know that verse by heart. That's the best is when you memorize a verse by heart without even realizing it. Um, yeah, and so that's what happens when you keep on repeating this. Yes, Sajjan Raj is saying Palagu Vairagya. It's worthless renunciation. It's all just Okay. What are we? Okay, so where are we in this Bhajana-rahasya? Let's open this up. We've gone through now Cheto Darpana Marjanam, Bhava Mahadavagni Nirapanam, and Shriya Kairava Chandrika Vitaranam, right? We've gone through. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur is giving all these verses to describe now. He says, the first verse of Shikshashtak describes the sequence of bhajan. First, the mirror-like heart is cleansed by the chanting of the holy name. So, Cheto Darpana Marjanam. And he gave like 4 or 5 verses, I think 5 verses, explaining. Um, First, it gives this beautiful verse by Srila Rupa Goswami from Rupa Goswami's Krishna Namashtaka, verse 7, how Harinam, it it's Cheto Darpana Marjanam. How is the mirror of the heart cleansed by Nam Sankirtan? And then he gives this verse, it explains how it destroys all the Rashaya means Rashi means the mass of arti, of afflictions and suffering. It Sudita, it destroys the masses of suffering and torments that people have accrued, through all their karma and everything. It destroys it of Ashrita Jan, of those who have taken shelter of Harinam. And oh Harinam, you are the Swarup, you are the very embodiment of Ramya, delightful, transcendental. Chid means transcendental, Ghana means condensed, Sukha, happiness. And so the thing that we use to clean our heart is actually the very embodiment of the most condensed, blissful, joyful happiness. And and not only that, it's the festival of Gokul. Oh Nam, you are the festival of Gokul. Oh Krishna, you are the very your form is fully complete. You have you have in your form of Krishna, you have qualities that don't exist in any other avatar, any other expansion. You have your Lila Madhuri, Venu Madhuri, Prem Madhuri, Rup Madhuri that doesn't exist in Ram, doesn't exist in any other form. Oh Nam, Namo Nama. I offer obeisances to you again and again. So this is the ultimate. Even the Abbas, we were just reading in the verse before this that Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur gives, right? Is the Abbas of the name cleanses away all this darkness, all these anarthas. It cleans the mirror of the heart. What to speak of. So it's like the Harinam is like way too powerful to clean the heart. Whereas now Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur gives a bunch of other different methodologies, like the whole process of yoga, which is like um, I have this book here. I just got it. Where is it? Oh, it's right here. One second. These are the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali. So now Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur is going to go through yoga, um, Ashtanga yoga. And in these Yoga Sutras, the first sutra, or no, the second sutra, explains what is the whole purpose of yoga. Let's see. This is sutra. Okay, so the sutra number 1 of the Yoga Sutras, Patanjali's Yoga Sutras, is Ata Yoganushashanam. Now the teachings of yoga are presented. And now the very first thing it says is Yoga Chitta Vritti Nirodha. What is yoga? What is the whole purpose of yoga? It is Nirodha, to still. It is the stilling of the changing states of the mind, the different chitta vritti. And then it goes on to explain all the different types of um, the changing states of the mind and all the different, and how this yoga is what destroys all that. Like that's the whole purpose of yoga is to do Cheto Darpana Marjanam, basically. But then Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur explains that even though yoga is all about that, cleansing the mirror of the heart so that you can get rid of all these kleshas and all these anarthas, all this stuff, it's very ineffective. Because when you attain different perfection, like as you advance in yoga, then you get all these different powers, all these different things happen, all these different temptations. And it's very common that you'll be led away. And we have lots of examples in Shastra. So that's why yoga is not the best way to cleanse the mirror of the heart. Bahusale, many places, even though the whole purpose of yoga is to ekagraha kore, is to fix the mind within the heart, like to make it one pointed and to purify shuddha kori. That's like the whole purpose of yoga. Still, bahustale, in many places, we see vyatikram. We see a deviation from this, like the opposite, like the what's the word vyatikram? We looked this word up before. And yeah, there's so many different pastimes. So we went through the pastime of Sobhari. It's also Rishya Shringi. There's so many different examples of how people fallen from the path of yoga. And it's not blissful. Harinam is Ramya Chid Ghana Sukha Surup. It's like the whole process of cleansing is very blissful and joyful, whereas the process of yoga takes a long time. It's very difficult, and actually one of the next yoga sutras was that it takes a very long time. It's lifetimes actually of following it perfectly before you're actually able to cleanse the heart. Whereas Harinam is very quick, joyful, easy, and effective, and you don't have all these different distractions and other temptations coming from it. So why would anybody engage in yoga after reading this verse? And then he goes through also gyan and nishkam karma and all these things. How it's just completely, even though it's the whole purpose of gyan, it's like he gives a very strong thing. This is from Srimad Bhagavatam, how it's very ineffective. And also, this verse is so great. We memorized this verse. We had a whole memorization. Um, and he ends with this verse because all these other processes for cleansing the mirror of the heart, all of them, especially gyan, in this verse is mentioning gyan, it's all just like beating empty husks. Stula tusha, that's like empty rough husks. Avagatina means to beat over and over and over again. You're trying so hard and you're trying to, but what happens if you beat an empty husk? Does any rice come from it? No. All you attain is um, eva kleshala, means you only attain uh, what is it? Like difficulty and suffering and hard work. Nanyad and nothing else. So there's nobody more foolish who would leave the path of bhakti to try to cultivate gyan. All right, so now, and then we went through how um this, so now that's Chetodarpana Marjanam. Um, and now is Bhava Mahadavagni Nirvapanam. How Nam Sankirtan, it extinguishes the blazing fire of material existence. What verse does he give for that? So what is the extinguishing the blazing fire of material existence? That's like moksha, right? So these are all negative things. These are all the things that we don't want being removed. So the first two things is all about that. All the stuff that we don't that we're trying to remove. We want to remove. We want to freedom. We want moksha. We want to end our suffering in material existence. To put out this blazing fire of material existence. Srimad Bhagavatam explains how. Oh yeah, I wanted to try to memorize this verse in a session, but then I never got around to it. Anyways, let's see. Mumukshatam means for those who desire liberation. Nata parang, there's no better way to krintanam, to cut the nibandha, the bondage of karma. আচ্ছা, আমি এখন ক্লাস চলছে আমি একটু পরে নেব there's no more effective way to cut the bondage of karma than tirtha padanu kirtanat. That means there's no better method than performing anu kirtan. Anu kirtan means continuous kirtan, and it also means kirtan under the guidance of Sri Guru and the Vaishnavas. It means anugatya, under the guidance, and anu also means perpetually. Perpetually engaging in kirtan of tirthapada. Tirthapada is a name for Krishna, whose feet is the very, it's his feet is the very resting place of all tirthas, and it's also makes everything into a tirtha. It is tirthapad. Tirtha means to purify. And so even remembering his feet, engaging in kirtan of his feet, it purifies one also. And so that relates to mumukshatam, right? It's by engaging in kirtan that of his feet which purifies. Nayat puna karmasu sajate mano. And why? Because yat means because it will what does this mean? Because by engaging in this kirtan of tirthapad, then the mind will never again, na puna means never again, become entangled in karma. Karmasu means in karma. It's the plural form, and it's the genitive case plural, which means in karma, in all the fruit of activities. It will never again, once you engage in tirtha paranukirtan, then your mind will never become entangled in karma ever again. Na puna, never again. Whereas other processes, anyata, all these other processes for trying to put out to the fire of material existence, there's always going to be the kalilam, the contamination of raja and tama. Their mind will always be contaminated by raja and tama. It will never get fully rid of this raja and tama. That's how I've understood the Sanskrit, at least. So that's the verse Bhaktivinoda Thakur gives for Bhava Mahadavagni Rapanam. And now finally, and then it gives us Sanskrit verse, Karma Bandha Sukhandan, Moksha Prapti Sanghatan, Krishna Nam Kirtane Sadhai. So Krishna Nam Kirtan, by Krishna Nam Kirtan, Krishna Nam Kirtane, what is sadhai? What is accomplished through that? The very thorough, Sukhandan means the very thorough cutting. Khandan means the cut of the bondage to karma, and the attainment of moksha, of liberation. That's all accomplished, sadhai, accomplished by Krishna Nam Kirtan. And karma chakra rajastama purna rupe vinirgama nam vina nahi anyupai. There is no other means. Anya upai. Anyupai means no, and nahi. There's no other means to other than, and vina means other than nam. There's no other means other than nam to fully purna rupe means fully vinirgam, to drive out and to end this chakra, this karma chakra, this repeated cycle of fruit of action filled with rajas and tamas, passion and ignorance. There's no other way to do it other than through nam. That's what at least Bengali means here. Okay, so now, oh, and then he gives another verse from the Skanda Puran. Sakrid ucharitam yena harir itakshara dvayam baddha parikarastena mokshaya gamanam prati. God, okay. So, sakrid ucharitam yena, that person who, sakrud ucharitam, who just once, sakrid means just once, ucharitam, who utters the name, the two syllables, the akshar dvaya means the two syllables of Hari, then Baddha parikarastena mokshaya gamanam prati. They traverse the path of moksha, I guess. Baddha parikaras. I don't know what parikaras means. It means, I'm guessing means which destroys the baddha, the bonds of of materialism, and then one very just moves along the path of moksha very quickly, or something like that. Easily attains liberation. The translation here, they say a person who even once chants the two syllables ha and ri easily obtains liberation. And then Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur gives this Bengali verse. It says, in whose mouth the name just once dances, nritya kore means dances, then moksha sukha anayase. Then that word anayase again, I like that word, means effortless, effortless, easily, very effortlessly. One, one attains moksha sukh, the happiness of liberation. That person, she nare, that person effortlessly attains moksha sukh, the happiness of liberation. Okay, and then we made it to the next verse. So that was Bhava Mahadavagni Nirapanam. And now we come finally to the positive thing. Up to this point is all about removing all the things that we don't want. And now finally, this is the first, Shreya Kairava Chandrika is the first thing that's positive that comes from Harinam. So the holy name is like the moonlight that causes the white lotus of all auspiciousness to blossom. The Skanda Puran, Prabhaskanda, quoted in Hari Bhakti Vilas, says this very beautiful, famous verse, Madhura Madhuram etan Mangala Mangalanam Sakala Nigama Valli Satphalam Chit Swarupam Sakredatpi Parigitam Shaddaya Helaya Va Briguvara Naramatram Tarayet Krishna Nama. So this holy name is Madhura Madhuram. It is the sweetest of all that is sweet. Madhur Madhuram. And etan, these names, etan means these names of Krishna are Mangala Mangalanam. They are the most auspicious of all that is auspicious. Of all that is Mangal, they are the most Mangal. And these names are Sakala Nigamavalli Satphalam Chit Swarupam. So the Chit Swarup, this transcendental form of the name, it is the perfect pure fruit of Sakala Nigamavalli. Of the Valli means the creeper, or the vine of all the scriptures. And I was wondering, like, why do they always give an example of a vine? And I think the reason is because a vine it grows for a long time. It'll just keep on growing up and up and up and up and up and up. And so and it just continues to grow and grow. And so the Vedas are so vast, and they just continue to grow up and up and up and up and up endlessly, almost. It seems like endlessly. But then finally, once he gets to the very top of all the Vedas, the very essence, and then finally, after all those Vedas, all the like unlimited instructions of the Vedas, finally you get to the top point and it bears fruit. And what is that fruit? It is the Chit Swarup. It is the pure transcendental um, form, which is the embodiment of Krishna. It's Nama Nami are non-different, right? It's Krishna himself. He is the fruit of all the transcendental Vedas. And what does it say? So that's the Chit Swarupam, and it's a Satphalam. That is the fruit. That is the perfect transcendental fruit of all the Vedas. So sakrid, api, and sakrid, that word again, sakrid means only once, even, api. So if one, parigitam, I still haven't, actually, maybe let's look up this word parigitam. But yeah, if one chants this name or sings this name even once, with faith, with shraddha, or even without faith, even helaya, disneglectfully, Bhriguvara Naramatram, oh Bhriguvar, oh best of the Bhrigus. That name will deliver that person. Tarayat. Krishna Nam will deliver that person. Still haven't figured out what matra means here either. Because matra means only, but no, it means, anyways, whatever. I still Need to look that up. Okay. Let's look up pari, like the suffix pari though. I didn't I want to see that also. Let's see if it gives suffixes in here. Pari. What's pari mean? Pari means, oops. Does it explain the suffix though? Let's see if I type in FX. No. Anyways, whatever. I'll figure this out later. I'll let you know. Like, is it prakrishta rupena? Here it says fully, abundantly, richly. I think that's what it means here. To express, oh yeah, sorry. So when pari becomes before a word, this pari expresses fullness or high degree. Okay, so if one, and what is pari gitam? What is full kirtan? That means sankirtan, right? This is just my my speculation here. So parigitam is like sankirtan, full kirtan, high degree of kirtan, sankirtan. So sakrid api parigitam, shraddhaya helaya va priguvaranamara. Okay. So then Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur gives these verses. Sakala mangala hoite parama mangal. So sakala mangala hoite, from all of all that is auspicious, from all that is auspicious, all auspicious things, Shakal Mangal, Harinam is the Parama Mangal. It is the supremely auspicious. Its form is completely transcendental. It's Chit Surup. This form is made of Chit. It is Chit. It is the embodiment of Chit. Because Krishna is the embodiment of Chit, so his name is the embodiment of Chit. That means transcendence, knowledge, and it is Sanatan. It is eternal. And I think that's the word here in this verse, sat. It is the eternal fruit. Also, sat means eternal, right? Sat, chit, eternal. So it is sanatan, eternal. It is the fruit of the vine of the Vedas. Veda Valli Phal. Krishna Naam Ekbar, the name of Krishna just once. Shraddhaya Helaya, with faith or with negligence. Jahar Vadani, in whose mouth that name appears. She Mukta Shunishchoy. Shunishchoy, without any doubt. Surely, surely, surely. She Mukta, that person is liberated. Okay, so that was Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur just gave that one verse for Shreya Kairava Chandrika Vitaranam. And now we come to Vidya Vadu Jivanam. The holy name is the life of all transcendental knowledge, which is compared to a wife. This is supported by the following verse from the Garuda Purana. Oh, and did I forget to see everybody who was here? I did. Sorry. Dandavat pranams Niri Hari Babu, Babatarani Mataji, Ashray Tatvavu, Sarveshwari Mataji, Brian, Chatamai Mataji, and oh, Shripad Bhaktiranta Sajan Maharaj, Dandavat pranams Maharaj, Lakshmi Ben Mataji, and Ganga Mataji, Dandavat, and everybody else. Dandavat pranams. Sorry. Sorry, I just totally spaced out. I mean, like I got distracted, I guess. I mean, I forgot. So Vidya Vadu Jivanam. And I'm just thinking, why is Harinam like like why is Vidya compared to a wife or a bride? And well, because her consort is Nam, and for a bride, what's the meaning of a bride? A bride means somebody who is who is about to be married or is married. A consort is, somebody. So the whole meaning of the name is related to the person that they're married to. And so the name, if knowledge, if Vidya is not connected with Nam, then there's no meaning to the name. Like she's not bride anymore. That's why her very existence, her very life, the jivan, her very life and soul, the life and soul of the consort of Nam is Nam. Especially of any chaste wife, her life and soul is her husband, right? Her partner. It's and so um if we so if you're trying to gain knowledge and you're not taking full shelter of Nam, then do you think in this vidya will be happy? Will it give you any blessings? Will you get any real knowledge, any real vidya? No, that'll just be avidya. And so now Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur is giving a bunch of verses. Well, he gives, I think, 3 or 4 verses. First from Garuda Puran. Yarichasi param jnanam, jnanad yat paramam padam, tad adarena rajendra, kuru govinda kirtanam. O best of kings, O Rajendra, O best of kings, if you desire to obtain the topmost knowledge, so yad, of which ichasi, if you desire param jnanam, param means the topmost jnana, knowledge. Jnana or vidya means the same thing. So if you want the topmost knowledge, and also jnanat means from that jnan, from that knowledge, that paramam padam and the supreme goal of that knowledge, the padam, and also the supreme position from that knowledge, and also padam means position, and also means the situation or the goal also. If you want that, you want the supreme knowledge and the goal of that supreme knowledge, then tad means there's something that would be nice to go through sometimes. It's called correlatives, yad and tad. These two go together. Yad of which by that kind of. Oh no, no. Which and that. I think that's what. Yeah. But that then then adarena with uh adar with great honor. And adar also can mean love and right. Let's look up the word adar. Adar means fondness. Adar means fondness, means to caress, appreciation, respect, reverence, honor, esteem, like a hearty reception. Adar abhyartana. Um, Adar kora means to fondle, to show respect, to caress. Adar. Whenever I'm petting the cows and like whenever I'll give Shamali this big like rub, then the Bengalis always say, "Oh, to me, adar korsho." You're caressing her. You're giving her love. Like that. Adar also means love, right? So um, yeah. So with that adar, with that respect and honor and love, Kuru Govinda Kirtanam. Kuru means do. Koro in Hindi or Bengali, koro means do or perform, engage in Govinda Kirtanam, in Kirtan of Govinda. Okay, so if you desire to obtain the topmost knowledge and the supreme goal of that knowledge, then what do? Adarena. With Adar, Kuru Govinda Kirtanam. Engage in Govinda Kirtan. Why? Because Govinda Kirtan is the life of that knowledge. It's Vidya Vadu Jivanam. So that Vidya will come to life if you perform Kirtan of Govinda. You'll start to realize, it won't just be dead knowledge, but it will actually, that Vidya will come to life. Okay, then Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur gives this verse. Parama jnana hoite je, parama pada pai, Govinda kirtana she, koroho shadai. It's basically this translation. Um, from the, wait, okay, let's just look at the Bengali. Hoite means from. So from the supreme knowledge, J, that Paramapada pai, that supreme position, that pi that uh, that you attain, I will, sorry, I attain the supreme position or the supreme goal from that supreme knowledge. How? If you want that, then koro ho shraddhai. Then with, sorry, shraddhai means with faith, Govinda Kirtan, she koro ho. Do that. Do that Govinda Kirtan. Okay. Now, oh, what time is it? It's 8 o'clock. Dang it. I went too slow. Okay. So we'll go through the next verses in about Vidya tomorrow. I'll just read the translations to these two verses. So the next verse is, O Vidhata, O Lord, O Paramatma. In this material world, the living entities, overwhelmed by the threefold miseries, cannot find any peace. Therefore, O Bhagavan, we take shelter of the shade of your lotus feet, which are full of knowledge. So Krishna's feet is the shade of Krishna's feet. It's full of knowledge. Tavangri savidyam. Oh, Krishna's feet is savidyam, full of vidya and ashrayama. I take shelter. How do we take shelter of Krishna's feet, which are full of knowledge? We can't take shelter of Krishna directly. I have no access to Krishna. How do I take shelter of Krishna? The way, something I do, I don't have access to Krishna himself, but I do have access to his name. Srila Gurudev has given me his name, so I can take shelter of the name. So that's how we take shelter of Krishna, right? Ashram, Ashraya. It says we should take shelter of Krishna's feet, which is filled with knowledge. We take shelter through the Nam. So, yeah. And then the last verse says, knowledge is that by which one's attention is concentrated upon the Supreme Lord. So what is that vidya that we keep on, that's being mentioned so many times? It's that by which one's attention is concentrated upon the Supreme Lord. Sa vidya tan matir yaya. Yaya means that by which, tan matir, one's intelligence is fixed on tan, on tat means that, he, that Krishna. Sa vidya, that vidya, is that by which one fixes one's mind on tat, on him, Krishna. And then Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur fills this out a bit more. This is just like 5 words here, but then he explains it in these 2 verses. He says, Jai Shakti te Krishna kore, Jai Shakti te Krishna kore urbhavan. So that Shakti, which brings about realization, or udbhavana, to look up that word udbhavana, but I'm guessing like realization of Krishna, Krishna, Vidya name she kore avidya kandan. That, the name of that is Vidya. And that Vidya, kore, kandan kore, it completely destroys avidya. Vidya destroys avidya. Krishna nam she vidya vadur jivan. That Krishna nam she vidya vadu jivan. So Krishna nam is the very jivan, is the very life of the bride of knowledge, vidya vadu. And why? Because through that knowledge, Krishna pada parme je koroye stirman. The mind becomes completely steered, completely fixed on the lotus feet of Krishna, Krishna pada parme, through that vidya. And so that's why she is called Vidya Vadu, the bride, because that's her function, is to fix our mind on Krishna. And then after that, he gives another verse, and I'm going way over time, so let's stop here. Yeah, okay. All right. We'll go over Vidyavadu Jivanam better tomorrow, and maybe we'll also begin Anandam Buddhivardhanam tomorrow. But okay, that's our program for today. I'll just do a short Mahamantra and we'll end. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Nitai Gaur Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol. And I just think it's so nice how Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, like we're supposed to contemplate these very deeply, we're supposed to contemplate this Shikshashtak. And so he's given us so many tools with which we can really go deep and contemplate each one of these. We see for each part, Cheto Darpana Marjanam, Baba Mahadeva, he gave us so many verses that we can really think about and go deep into. Um, yeah, he's making it so easy to go deep. Otherwise, if I was just trying to meditate on Shikshashtakam, I'm like, okay, cleanses the mirror of the heart, cleanses the mirror of the heart, yeah, cleanses the mirror of the heart. Like I wouldn't be able to go much deeper than that. But he's given us so much to, and all of our acharyas, like so many of our acharyas, Srila Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur in his commentary also, and then Srila Sridhar Goswami Maharaj, or Srila Gurudev, so many of our acharyas have given very deep explanations of all these verses so that we can really just spend a lot of time. That's the only way we've been spending. Now we're on day 32 of going over verse 1 of Shikshashtakam. It's the only reason is we're able to do that. Not I wouldn't be able to say anything. I like if I was trying to explain Shikshashtakam verse 1, I'd probably finish in like 5 minutes. But now we've been able to have like our 32 our sessions take an hour. So 32 hours of just going over the first verse because of all this nectar our acharyas have given us to go deep. Right. Jai Shri Sachinandan Gaur Hari Ki. I'm just going to do the Jaidvani and then I'll get to you. Sorry, Shri. जय श्री सच्चिनंदन गौर हरि की जय श्री श्री राधा विनोद बिहारी जू की जय श्री गोविंद गोपीनाथ मदन मोहन जू की जय जय श्रील गुरुदेव की जय जय श्रील परम गुरुदेव की जय श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय जय श्री रूपानु गौरिया गुरु वर्ग की जय स्वपार्षद श्री गौर नित्यानंद प्रभु की जय श्री राधा कृष्ण गोप गोपीगान की जय श्री गिरिराज महाराज की जय श्री तुलसी महारानी वृंद देवी की जय जय श्री सच्चिदानंद भक्ति विनोद ठाकुर की जय Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur's Bhajana-rahasya ki jai. Jai Shri Chaitanya Shikṣāṣṭaka ki jai. Jai Shri Sachinandan Gaur Hari ki jai. Shri Krishna Nam Sankirtan ki jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai. Samagata Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Shri Nitai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bo. Vrindai Tulsi Devai Priyai Keshavashacha Krishna Bhakti Pradadevi Sattvatai Namo Namaha Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Dandavat Pranams Niri Hari Prabhu Bhavatarani Mataji Ashray Tattva Prabhu Sarveshwari Mataji Chattamai Mataji Shripad Bhaktivedanta Sajan Maharaj Lakshmi Ben Mataji Ganga Mataji Rohini Nandan Prabhu, Raseshwari Mataji, all devotees watching in the future, like Shashi Devi and uh, um, Jayadev Prabhu, Revati Didi, and everybody else. If you write a comment, then I'll see who you are. But yeah, Dandavat Pranams. Thank you so much for joining. Yeah, Sarveshwari Mataji.
Yes, I just was thinking about Vidya, why it's compared with the wife, and I was thinking like a transcendental knowledge is like eternal companion of Sankirtan. Like I was thinking, like Radharani is eternal companion, is a Shakti, eternal companion of Krishna. I was thinking that's it because it's the object of love of Radharani is Krishna and vice versa. But I was thinking in that way that is wife, like
Yeah,
okay.
yeah, that's very 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 beautiful point. Yes, yeah, that's the ultimate meaning, right?
Yeah, yeah, the ultimate meaning. Yeah,
Yes,
I was
yes.
thinking. Yeah.
And something I'm just thinking about now, like we say Sat Chit Ananda, right? So Sat is like Baladev Prabhu's embodiment of Sat, of existence, eternality. And then Krishna is the existence of, like Krishna is Chit. He is the knowledge potency, gives knowledge of our relationship with him also. All cognizance, all that's Krishna. And then Srimati Radhika is Ananda. But then here, um, the Krishna's consort is also knowledge. And so it's interesting. Like I'm just wondering, there must be some kind of I don't know, some kind of connection in that way, uh, Chit and Vidya, and I don't know though. I'm just, I mean, of course, Shakti Matayora Ved, right? So like Krishna is non-different from his potency, so you can't really separate them. But yeah. I don't know. I don't know if there's anything there. But, all right. Is there any more points that anybody wants to mention before we end our program for today?
Haribol, thank you, Prabhu, for a wonderful class.
Haribol Chatamai Mataji. Dhanyavad pranams. I mean, I'm not doing anything. I'm just reading from a book. But yeah, thank you. Um, okay. Oh, this one thing I'll just mention. So I'm not sure if anybody saw, yesterday I posted on my website, vineofdevotion.com, the pranam mantra for Ganga Devi, a beautiful pranam mantra. And I did a memorization practice yesterday evening. I went through half of the verse, and such a descriptive, beautiful verse for Ganga Devi. It's so beautiful. And this evening, I'm going to do the second half. It's 8 lines. It's like 2 Manashiksha verses, but it's actually pretty easy to memorize because everything is just very descriptive. It's not like so much tattva or anything like that. And it gives a really beautiful. Every line has a different like picture, beautiful, and so it's a really nice way to and the reason I'm doing this is because I wanted to memorize the Ganga Devi Pranam mantra. I live right like a 3 minute walk away from the Ganga, and I've been going to the Ganga every day for about over 2 years now, I think, or about 2 years now. And I just offer pranam, and I just don't have any prayer or anything in my head. It's just like obeisance to you, Ganga, and that's it. But now, but I've found like I've been finding that the easiest, most engaging and fun way to memorize any verse is to try to explain it to other people. It's also really nice having a verse that explains to you, but it's both things are really nice, and so it's the biggest win-win. People get to have it explained to them, make it really easy to memorize, and then also by explaining it, it becomes very. It's not just like when I sit down and I try to memorize a verse on my own, it's all just like in the mental plane, and anything in my mind just like very quickly evaporates. It doesn't stick in my mind. I might be able to memorize the verse, um, after it's with a lot of effort, I'll memorize the verse, but then because it was only just in my mind, it will evaporate. It will disappear very quickly. But I found when I try to explain it and I say it out loud and I say, okay, this word means this word means this, and then we try to go through and explain, and it's like I'm doing it with my voice and expressing something to other people. It makes it like less than just, on in my brain, which everything evaporates in my brain. It makes it like more tangible and more real. And I find that um, a lot easy. It's a lot easier for me to understand it and memorize it, and it also sticks in my brain better. I found like I've memorized that verse now, and I went to the Ganga this morning and I said it, and it was really easy. Usually when I memorize a verse on my own, it's not that easy. But today I recited the whole verse from memory, like very easily, very naturally. And so it's yeah, I'm just seeing like the power of trying to teach verses. And it's fun. It's really fun to memorize verses with other people. So um, I'm gonna write a post on this today, on this topic of the easiest, funnest, most effective way of memorizing verses is to do it with a friend. And I'm thinking of maybe writing ideas of ways that you could do that. Like if you have a buddy that also wants to memorize verses and you can choose verses, which verses you want to memorize, then maybe you can make a pact with them like, okay, let's memorize these verses. I'll teach you this verse and then you teach me the next verse and you can go back and forth teaching each other the verses. And then you're keeping each other accountable and you have somebody to say it in front of and you're doing it together. It's a really nice way to build relationships also. And it also just works. Like you can be sure that you're going to memorize it. If your friend is going to memorize it and you're memorizing it together, then you're going to want to keep up, right? So it's like just a really good way of. And then I'm also going to write of ways to be able to understand the verse, like. Um, uh, if anybody needs to go, you can go. If anybody wants to stay longer, I'm just going to show you what I did yesterday, last night. I didn't even really spend any time with the verse yesterday before I went live. Because we had a kirtan program that went longer, it went overtime. I didn't have time to actually prepare anything. But what I did is I took the verse and the translation, and then I put it into, I copied and pasted this prompt into Gemini. Gemini is one of these AI tools. There's different ones. There's ChatGPT, there's Google's is called Gemini, there's one called Claude. They're all really good and they're all free. And so I just put in these instructions. It just copied and pasted this. And um has all these instructions, and then I put in the verse and the translation. And then this is what it gave me. And this is what I used last night to go over the verse. I asked it to give me a um a summary of each line, just like the essence of each line, and an emoji to go with it. I find it's really helpful to have images. And so with this verse, I have an image for each line. There's a flower for the first line, a jewel for the second line, feet for the third line, and music or sound for the last line. And so this is like the key word. The key word from the first line is flowers. The key word from this second line is jewels, ratna. The key word from this third line is charana, feet. The key word from this is Hari Sankirtan. And so now like it's not difficult because something that happens a lot is I memorize a verse and then I forget what comes next. What's the next line about? But if I just have like one image or one key word, then I'll be like, oh yeah, okay, this is what comes next. So this is a really easy way to memorize a sequence. Visual stuff's so helpful. And so then yeah, and then it gives me just a title for that line so that I can call it to memory. And then I asked it to give me a translation of this line, but following the Sanskrit word order, so that when I'm saying the verse, I can also just be really clear on the meaning of the words. So, Navadipa Rama Prakara Kusuma Moda Valitam. So, following the same word order, if I were to say this in English, it'd be by Navadip's groves, many flowers fragrance, she's enveloped. This is like actually following the exact word order. Navadip, Navadips. Arama, groves. Prakara means many. Kusuma means flowers. Amoda means fragrance. Valitam, enveloped. So by Navadip's groves, many flowers fragrance, she's enveloped. So now you can be very clear what this line means when you're saying it in Sanskrit. You're not just trying to memorize a sequence of foreign words, but you're like, okay, that's what this means. And then I also just asked it to give like the natural translation that sounds good. She's enveloped by the fragrance of multitudes of flowers from Navadip's groves. Generally, it's like that. The translation moves in the reverse order from the Sanskrit. Like she is enveloped, valitam, by the fragrance, by the amoda of the flowers, the many flowers of the groves of Navadip. See, it went exactly in the opposite order. So I want a translation that gives it to me in following the same word order of the Sanskrit so that I find that helpful. And then also I asked it to give me a word for word with emojis also. I really like emojis. Like they really help give an image in the head. So, so Navadvip, and it gave me this little island of Navadvip. And then Aram means groves or gardens, so it gave me a tree. Prakara means multitudes, so lots of flowers, numbers of kusuma flowers, so it gives me a flower. Amoda, fragrance, perfume. It has a lady blowing. So, anyways, and then Valitam. I would have picked a different thing for Valitam, but enveloped or embraced. So it's all enveloped, embraced by this. All of Navadip's enveloped by this fragrance of flowers, multitudes of flowers that are coming from the groves of Navadip. So that's Ganga has that fragrance of all the flowers. So that's the first line. And then the second line, Spura. Anyway, I'm not going to go through all the lines, but you can see how this just makes it a lot more fun and easy. And all I did was put in a prompt and I just copied and pasted this prompt right here, which gives all the detailed instructions for what to do. And I put in the verse and translation, and then it gave me this. And this makes learning the verses so much easier and funner, and it didn't require any effort on my part. So yeah, that's just another cool tool that you can use. In the post that I'm going to write today on my website, Vine of Devotion, I'll give this prompt that I used so that next time you go to learn a verse, yeah, you can just put it in ChatGPT or whatever thing that you like to use and put the verse in there and you'll get just what you saw now. And yeah. And then you can easily understand the word meaning of all the words, and then you'll be in a position to be able to explain it to a friend. So, okay, that's all for today. Thank you so much for joining, and see you all either this evening if you want to memorize the second half of the verse, or I'll see you tomorrow for Bhajana-rahasya. Right, Haribol. Haribol, Ashray.